Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon, evening time is coming into now here. I'm joined by Robert Butwin, who is a sort of professional networker and a strategist to entrepreneurs based in the States, which means he's in morning time there, Robert.
It is, it's just after 9 o'clock, and I've already been working for about an hour out this morning.
Oh, good, good. Well, I've been, this is probably is my third Zoom meeting podcast call, and I've done 4 networking events. So it's my seventh sort of long, either an hour or 2 hour call of the day. And yes, it's my last but one. It's the penultimate one. I got one more at 6 and then I'm done. How are you doing today? You okay?
I'm phenomenal. I'm excited about all the great things that are going to happen today, even though I might not know exactly what they're going to be. But, I've got communications with different people I've met on different networking events, and I'm here to help people. So I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to sharing some insights with your listening audience that can help them.
Yeah, brilliant. And yeah, I love collaborating with networkers and entrepreneurs, but I really love collaborating with what I call power networkers. People who really get networking, have really got the big networks, and actually can help you place some of your network with their contacts and vice versa. Because I love helping people too. So to me, it's all about what value can you offer to other people, and how valuable can you be in somebody else's life. And the more valuable you are to others, the more valuable you'll be to society and to economies, and the more value you'll get back in return in whatever shape or form that decides to present itself in. And that's sort of my belief. What's yours on that?
I 100% agree with your belief. There's an old saying that's the value of your net worth is in relationship to the value of your network. The way you make your network more valuable is bring them more valuable, be it a connection, a contact, insights, perspectives, guiding them to information. But again, the more that we can be there of service to others,
Yeah.
it's amazing if you are authentic and legitimate, how it comes back to you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. That's the whole reason we're speaking now on a Zoom call for my podcast and YouTube channel, is because I decided to create that podcast to actually help as many people as I can. And obviously, on a physical basis, you can only help so many people. There's only so much of you that goes around. But actually, if you put your information and your knowledge out there into the sphere, into the world, the World Wide Web, and onto podcasts and YouTube, etc., then you can help an infinite number of people. I don't really care how many people I help. I'd like to help as many people as possible. But as long as I can help somebody, then I'm doing my job. I'm helping somebody. So for me, I'm putting as much information as I can onto my podcast and getting great guests on to share their information too, so that hopefully someone somewhere will find it, and it may help them, it may resonate with them, it may give them a little bit of gold nugget, or it may give them a lot of gold, whatever. And then the way I look at it is I'm offering some value to someone somewhere.
You totally are. And I take a look at it. One of my mentors who's no longer on this physical planet was Jim Rohn.
Okay,
And
yeah, I
you
love
take a
Jim. I
look
love
at,
Jim.
yeah, phenomenal person, but he's lived on. He's created a legacy life. He's created a life where he's touched so many people, and he's not even here, and he's still touching other people because people can go to YouTube and listen to him still for free.
Yeah,
So
I've
I
never
mean,
met him or nothing, but I've had a lot off Jim Rohn in this lockdown period, because I started off listening to some other people, but I've gravitated towards Jim, and he really resonates with me. He's like one of the grand masters of all time, isn't he?
he is. Well, I mean, first of all, he turned Tony Robbins' life around. Tony Robbins, when he met Jim and worked for Jim, um, was a struggling entrepreneur. I mean, think about it. He was working with Herbalife, making a lot of money, and he wanted to go out and help more people. And Herbalife gave him $1 million a year raise, not to speak in front of any other network marketing company. He was the ideal business philosopher. Um, you know, I know most of the people that I know that are very successful will point to him as far as something that they've learned from him, as far as how it's helped them become successful.
Yeah.
You know, just like it's helped you, just like, you know, anybody else that wants to search him out, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, well, I love Brian Tracy as well. I think Brian Tracy is a similar sort of character, and Les Brown. You know, Les Brown more on motivation and speaking, Brian Tracy more on the sales and the psychology and that. But I never obviously got to listen to or whatever to Jim live, but I've picked up so much great value from the YouTube. You know, I do a lot of YouTube listening, and I gravitated towards Jim more recently. But you know, I listen to people like Grant Cardone, and I've listened to a bit of Tony Robbins.
Sure.
I actually like Jarek as well, his son, Jarek Robbins, which is, you know, third hand Jim Rohn information, if you like, probably.
Yeah.
You know, but did you actually get to meet Jim yourself then? Was he a mentor personally, or was he a mentor from afar, or what?
No, originally he was a mentor. I'm sorry, a mentor from, you know, just listening to his cassette tapes. But
Yeah.
actually, I've been on stage 3 different times speaking at events that he spoke at.
Okay.
So I have met him personally.
Yeah.
You know, I knew his business manager, which was Kyle Wilson. Another person that you might want to introduce to your listening audience to is Simon Sinek.
Okay,
And
I haven't heard of that one, but I've actually met Kyle Wilson. I've been on two Zoom calls with Kyle.
super, yeah. Simon Sinek did the why. You know, it was a big TED talk that had a huge amount of, but it's understanding why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's a, you know, a very powerful. And again, you can get that on YouTube for free. Just the power of why. He wrote a book, and he makes some really clear, quality points that will help people.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, it was funny because in the lockdown is when I discovered my why. I've always been sort of close to it and dotted around it, if you like. But since I went on a podcast of a friend of mine, which is called the Fire in the Belly podcast, and they go through a life story starting from when you were a kid right the way through your life, a 2 hour sort of interview, if you like. And what it basically does, the first time I ever reflected on my entire life in one, you know, episode, if you like, one journey, one thought process, and actually allowed me to really crystallize my why. And so before that, I always thought I was here to help entrepreneurs because I love helping people. I love helping people with in business, sales, marketing, networking, social media. You know, a lot of skills which entrepreneurs need, and success mindset. You know, looking after yourself, health and well-being, all this sort of stuff. But what I actually realized through the process of the Fire in the Belly Life Stories interview was I just like helping people. Yeah, so it wasn't just entrepreneurs solely; it was just people. And actually, I can help people in lots of ways, and I have done. I've helped quite a lot of people in my life, you know, overcome mental health issues and things like that, if you like. And so, you know, I've really had that crystallized at the beginning of lockdown. I wrote a book. I created two formulas, a happiness formula and a success formula. And they're my life mission now, to go around the world and educate people on those things. And that's what I'm going to be doing from now on. And that's the reason I started the podcast. And it's, you know, so I've really crystallized my why, and it's given me a rocket at the backside to go 100 miles an hour in one direction, pinpointing with the why of why I'm doing everything. So what you said about Simon Sinek and finding your why, I think that is, you know, it's a very important aspect that a lot of people don't actually ever get to, but lots of people do, some earlier, some later in life. But the more you can get to your why, the why you're here and the why you exist, I think the more you can actually go off and achieve whatever it is you should be achieving out of your life, because you've crystallized that reason for your existence.
You know, playing off of what you said, and one of the things I realized a long time ago is we all have 2 B days, a birthday and a box day, and in between there's a dash. You know,
Yeah.
it's sort of like I refer to that in Jim Rohn. It's like, how do you live on beyond your time in your physical body? You know, one of the things that, based on what's going on right now, the pandemic, it's sort of like leveled the playing field.
Yeah.
you're going to see a lot of new brands that come out because their
Lots of
consciousness.
technology brands and delivery brands and logistics and all that sort of thing.
Well, even with what you're doing as far as helping other people, I mean, it's like I've flown 2 million air miles.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not interested in getting on a plane and doing a lot of these seminars anymore.
No.
I would rather be in the luxury of my home with my wife. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to travel, but I want to travel for time with her and just enjoying, because we can do things on Zoom. We can, look at how we're meeting right now. You're on one side of the world, I'm on the other side of the world. We can reach more people if we digitize our message and then get our message into the consciousness of other people. And that's where marketing comes in.
Yeah, definitely. I want to do the traveling and speak on stages and all of that.
Sure.
I'm just as happy as well, mind to do it online and whatever as well. So bit of a mix of it all. But I at some point in my life, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do my own event. I used to do my own nightclub nights and stuff. So I am an organizer of events and people and a massive marketeer. So I've got all the skills and stuff. I just don't particularly like doing the admin, the coordinating and that sort of thing. I like doing the sales, the marketing, and let someone else do the organization. But I'll end up either on successful stages because I've cracked the speaking world and people have invited me to their stage, or at some point I'll just put myself on the stage. You know what I mean? I'll put myself front and center by putting on a big event.
Yep. Oh, and I plan to have a big event here, but I plan to be at somewhere close to my house. I plan to have mine called the Enlightened Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's amazing you talk about the nightclub.
Uh-huh.
One of the things, because we're fairly new acquainted, I used to run a nightclub. Obviously, it was before I got married,
Yeah.
and I could tell you stories about running the nightclub.
Yeah.
And part of my philosophy was make my worst night my best night, which I did.
Yeah.
And it was the hottest club in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, which is where I was born.
Yeah.
Now I'm living in the wine country in Northern California.
Okay. Yeah. Well, funnily, so I'm an opportunist. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a sort of smell what sells and get going with it, which is why, I'm full steam ahead because of lockdown, because I realized it was a level playing field and there's a whole new market to go at, and there's a whole new way of doing things. And I'm an expert at this lockdown life because I've been living at home for the last 8 years and working, operating online and helping other people to get online. So if you like, I was ahead of the curve, if you like. Yeah. But when I went into the nightclub game, I used to love going to a nightclub on a Friday night and it shut down. And I used to know the DJs, I used to know the door people, I used to know the coke people and the everything. Yeah. And because I wanted somewhere else to go on a Friday night that was similar, I knew someone who had a venue. So I decided to put my own night on to replace the night that was lost for my own enjoyment. So, and that's because I'm a natural networker. That's how I knew the DJs and the doormen and the coke people and whatever. So as soon as the nightclub shut down, I was like, right, great. Let's just take you guys, move into this place and we'll have our own night. So I did that for 8 months. And the only reason I got out of that is because the venue got sold. It was in the basement underneath a restaurant and it got sold. Otherwise, I probably would have done that forever because I love to party. I like to make money and party. I'm a Richard Branson fan. To me, life is for living. There's no such thing as work or play. It's just life. And the more you can enjoy what you're doing, the more you'll enjoy your life.
Yep. It's amazing you tell that story. And, again, we're taking a look at what's happening today. And we met in one of these speed networking things. Speed networking, actually, we're in a couple of groups before we really connected. But as you're talking about the networking, I had almost the exact same story. The only thing is that the people created the hottest nightclub and then they sabotaged the success of the nightclub. It was in the basement of a building. Yeah. And so new owners had to come in and ultimately, as they did a promotion, because I was a regular customer, they allowed me to come in and stay after hours. And they were gloating over how well they did this promotion. And so I stuck my foot in my mouth like I've normally have done before in the past. And I says, guys, that wasn't that good of a promotion. It wasn't that great. And so they challenged me to do better. And so I says, no problem. And they said, would you like to wager some money on it? I said, sure, I'll wager some money on it. But I set the ground rules of how I wanted to operate. Because if I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, I'm not going to lose.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so bottom line of it is, I won the bet. Then we did another one, double or nothing. I won it, and before you knew it, I was running the club. And then all of a sudden, the owners of the club ended up selling it to somebody else. And within 30 days, they wanted to run it their way, and I was out. Because I don't take orders from people.
No, no. But that's why I went self-employed myself. I'm not very good at taking orders from people. I'm a leader, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm a strategist. And what really annoys me is when you got people you're supposed to take orders from, and they're not strategists, and they're playing the wrong game. You know, and I got to vocalize that. If I don't agree with the game you're playing, the tactics you're using, I'm gonna speak out because, you know, I back myself. I back myself as a strategist. So if I can see a better strategy, I'm gonna vocalize it.
You know, it's like, I get the feeling in talking to you, we're like brothers from another mother. You know, we're so similar, but we're so far away, and we've never met face to face. But I'm the same way. It's like one of the CEOs that I'm coaching, and he turned to me one time and he said, Robert, do you think I've been moving as fast as you thought? And I was really honest and straightforward with him. I says, no, I can't believe how slow you're moving.
Yeah.
I mean,
People,
I can
people
normally
don't
see
like the
things.
truth sometimes, so they don't like to hear the truth.
We've got a great relationship. I mean, I'm still working with this company. I'm looking at working with another company. Again, I'm here to live a life of significance. The way I can live a life of significance, just like you, is make a positive impact on other people. And today, with putting our information in a digital form, then it's up to us to get this information to other people's consciousness so that they can realize, hey, there's another alternative for me. I mean, what turned my life around was when I listened to Wayne Dyer's tape series, No Limit Person. See, once I came to the realization that the limits that existed in my life, that I was responsible for them being there. See, once you take responsibility for what is, you can take it for what will be. Unfortunately, most people are in a state of denial, and I love the acronym of denial. Don't even notice I am lying. They're lying to themselves by not taking responsibility. Anybody, for the most part, can accomplish or achieve whatever they want. The biggest thing that stops people is the 6 inches between their ears.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the social conditioning, of their bosses, their family, their society, the news, government, all that sort of thing. The social conditioning. For me, I've always accepted responsibility and accepted, the fact that I was the person in charge of myself, my life, my job, my team, whatever. I've never shied away from responsibility, and ultimately, I think that's why people like us gravitate towards personal development and all of that, because we know the buck stops with us. And so if we want to find a way around a problem, or we want to develop, or we want to become better at whatever it is, then it's only us that can become better. We can't rely on the government to make us better, or handouts, or whatever, other people. So many people are willing to relinquish their responsibility and blame everyone else other than themselves for the situation that they're in, and therein lie the problem. And it's the reason why they don't ever look for the reason or the ways of getting out of their situation, because it's nothing to do with them. It's somebody else's fault.
Well, when we look at other people's faults, and it can really be reflected back to our parents and their parents' parents one way or the other. And let me explain why. My guess is your parents probably told you the same thing my parents did. And let me give you a couple different examples. Don't talk to strangers. Why did they do that? They wanted to protect you. Now, you and I have realized that the way that we can really create the life we want, a life of significance, is by turning the right strangers into friends. That was the first thing. The second thing that they probably told you is the way to get ahead is go get a good education, get a good job, work for somebody else so you're a slave to somebody else's dream, and you're going to live a good life. Now, you and I have come to the realization that we're basically psychologically unemployable. We don't want to trade our time for money. We want to be there where we're free in creating a life of significance, not being a slave, not being conditioned by ultimately how most people are. And once we're able to break away from the norm, we can create that kind of life, and it's a life of helping others.
Yeah, exactly. And you say enslaved. I've had a conversation with Leslie Feger. Do you know Leslie Feger from Canada? He's big in the personal
No,
development
not yet.
space. Yeah, okay. And also I've had Bob Berg on my show as well. So I've had a few sort of people who are, quite proactive in that personal development space on my podcast and YouTube channel. And I'm always looking, I think people resonate with each other and the vibrations go out. And that's why people like myself and you are meeting at the moment, because the channels are now clear to connect with people over the globe and not just locally. And I think the people with the right vibrations are attracting each other, if you like. So I've had quite a lot of people, with shared philosophies and stuff on my podcast and sharing their wisdom. And because, for somehow we're all resonating with each other at these times. And I was having a chat with Leslie Feger about this. Slavery hasn't gone away. It's just not gone from the white masters to the black people anymore. It's now the people who run businesses to the masses. Everyone else is enslaved. They're still doing exactly the same as what they used to have to do, working in the fields, picking tea or whatever. But now they're working in the offices, doing the phone calls or whatever else they're going to do. And instead of getting their clothes and their food and whatever, they get a little bit of money to buy their clothes and their food and whatever. But the system hasn't really changed, but somehow the commercial businesses enslaving everyone else, the masses, have been able to better hide it and better convince the slaves or the enslaved that they're not slaves. So they've just done a sleight of hand trick with everybody and are getting away with it.
Yeah, they are. And, a long time ago, I went to a seminar by the name of Bernie Dorman, who passed away about 2-3 weeks ago. He started, it was called IBI, which was Income Builders International, and then it changed its name into CEO Space. But one of the things that they taught in his seminar was multiple streams of income. And it's really what I've lived by. It's nice to have more than one stream of income. If you are only dependent upon a job, you're trading time for money, you're at the mercy of the person, because they're paying you just enough to keep you, because they've got to stay competitive with the other businesses in the marketplace. If they overpay you, chances are they're not going to stay competitive. So you need, we are our own business. Everything is dependent upon me making enough money based on helping other people. I focus on relationships, not transactions. I focus on what I can do to be of value and service to other people, because I realize that there's a direct relationship to the value and service that you bring to the marketplace and the rewards the marketplace is going to give back to you. Well, what's the marketplace? It's people. So, again, people need to realize that there's more than one way to make money. And today, with affiliate programs, with leverage business models, there's so many different ways. The key is finding the right mentor in something that people are going to want if they understand the value. It's being able to communicate effectively with other people so that they understand the value, what it is that you represent, and they're going to want to know why they want to have a relationship with you. I've really boiled it down to 4 key things. It's what you put in your mind, what you put in your body, the activities you do, and the relationships that you have. Who do you have relationships with? Are they guiding you to where you want to be, where you want to end up your life?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. So on that, when power networkers get together, it is all about the relationships you have, the opportunities of, the compound effect of the people that I know mixing with the people that you know to get more productivity, collaborations, lead referrals, wider communities, more impact, all these sort of things. So what are the areas, Robert, that you sort of focus in with your value? What areas do you have a lot of contacts in, and you're able to offer a lot of value in the sort of business income streams sort of world?
Well, my four main areas for specific reasons are authors, speakers, coaches, um, holistic practitioners, and people that are looking to pivot, people that are serious and open and wanting to figure out a plan B, whatever that plan B is. Because, again, I don't have a cookie cutter
No,
approach
no.
because everybody's bringing different belief systems, resources, where they're starting, where they want to end up. So I've got to be able to understand who they are, what they want to, where they want to go. But I look at the fact that I'm there to be of service to them, and I know that as I'm able to make a positive impact with people, it comes back to me in diamonds, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, there's a lot of crossover there, with all the people that I'm working with at the moment and are connected with, like you said, I think we may be, sort of separated at birth, slightly. Maybe I was the frozen egg, you was born natural, and they froze me, and it's a bit like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know what I mean? Um,
Yep.
they took me out of the lab and they put me alive maybe about, I'll be kind, 10 years behind you. Uh, and, we're very, very similar, it literally is separated at birth type stuff because, I'm involved in a number of networks at the moment, and most of them are full of, authors, speakers, coaches, holistic people, health and well-being, um, and pivoters, people who are switching, entrepreneurs who are switching to the online from the offline. So, I could, if I give you a list of people I was working with, it would have been, very similar list, except I probably would have had tech startups in there or tech businesses, otherwise it
I,
would have
I
been an
was,
identical list.
yeah. In fact, I was talking to a guy I've got to introduce you to that I met today. That's a tech. He's been he's got an accounting background, but he's also in the tech space.
Has he got an app?
What?
Has he got an app?
No, but I can get his contact information. He's going to be sending it again to me. I just was on a Zoom call with him right before you and I had a call.
Yeah.
But one of the things, because two of the companies I work with, they're looking for speakers that have got good messages like yourself that would like to get in front of another audience, and they're willing to do that for you for free.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking to find people that would like to introduce their message of how they can help entrepreneurs and get in front of another audience.
Yeah, well, I'm up for any engagement possible at the moment because I'm on the mission that I know to become a global speaker and paid the sort of money that I want to get in order to build the business I want to get. I've got to do whatever I can to become known first, and that's speaking in whatever stages I can get on until people pay me to get on the stages I want to get on.
Right. Exactly. And one of the keys, because as a networker, and you and I are in a lot of the different, we seem to show up in different networking groups together.
Yeah.
But as a networker, you never know who you're going to connect with that's going to be just right for me, or who I'm going to connect with that's going to be just right for you, because we're meeting people all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to really get to know people. It's like I've got 30,000 people on my LinkedIn group. Now of the 30,000, I probably talked to 500 because I don't, what just amazes me how people believe they're going to do business with somebody without ever talking to them, or get referrals from people without ever talking to them.
Yeah.
Again, I need to connect with the person. And once you've got a relationship with them and you're comfortable where you can, suggest somebody connect with them, so we're very similar in that way.
I'm connected with about 15,000. I got 3 accounts with about 5,000 on each, and I'm probably speaking to about 500 of them as well. So similar sort of numbers. But on the speaking side of things, so on my podcast, I talk about sales, marketing, networking, social media, and entrepreneurship with a bit of mindful mindset, health and well-being, and also personal development. So I've been listening to people like Brian Tracy, Sharon Lecter, Don DiMartini, Grant Cardone,
Sure.
Gary Vee, you know, a lot of the people who are the top in their spaces, in the spaces that I want to be the top in the world on, because I'm learning off them, adding my own secret sauce and my own little razzmatazz and a bit of salt and pepper and whatever. And at some point, I know I can get to the stage I want to get to. So there's lots of topics I can talk about and help people in. And another big one, which I think, so part of my strategy, part of my mission is, I don't know if you'll agree with me here or not, but all the people I hear that are top in the global space, they're all Americans. You know, they're all North Americans. And for me, there needs to be some more Brits and some more Europeans in that space. And actually, for an American audience, they love British people. I'm Welsh, so that's even a bit more intriguing as well, because they're not quite sure about Wales and where it is and what it is, etc. So I think I've got a bit of a niche in the American market as somebody who I actually think a lot like Americans, but I'm also I've got a British accent and I'm Welsh, etc. But I'm also very sophisticated in my sales and I'm very nuanced and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit different. Americans, I find, are a bit more gung-ho, a bit more in your face. Grant Cardone being the epitome of that. And I started out in double glazed sales, so I understand, because Grant come from car sales. But I actually used to sell high-end IT solutions to corporate companies around the UK. And that, you know, you've got to be a bit more polished, a bit more nuanced. You know, it's working with IT departments and, you know, decision makers from across the board, HR, you know, legal, you know, the operations directors, the managing directors, the CEOs, the boards, you know. And I used to have to present a bit like a lawyer in a court. I used to have to present, you know, reasons, a solution really, why this was better than what they had in place at the time. And that's quite a sophisticated sales approach. And so not many people that I know, and especially in the UK, have actually had that sales experience, but also then are willing to share that experience with others and teach people how to do that type of more sophisticated solution-based sales, rather than just, you know, a sort of gung-ho, emotive, you know, clever objection handling type approach to sales. So it's a little bit different, I think. And so therefore, I think I've got a bit of a gap in the market, which that's why I'm trying to become as known as I can on the planet, because then once people know me, I think I'll have a gap, a niche that I'll be able to fit into and fill quite nicely.
You know, I definitely believe you've got a niche, a gap that you can fit into. You know, it just so happens in 2 weeks I'm on stage with Kemalita, who's from the UK.
In the Global Summit.
Yes, and in the meantime, a couple of things that I can recommend. One of the events that I show up every Monday, it's Tom Gay's event, which started a company called Refer.com, and it's I'll send you a link. It's called In the Tribe. Highly recommend that. It's free. It's an hour every Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. But the other thing, have you ever looked at or read any of Robert Cialdini's work?
No.
Highly recommend it. He wrote, the first book he wrote was the book on influence. And he outlined the 6 key aspects of what really influences people. And you can get it on YouTube for free. Robert Cialdini. I'll send you the link afterwards, Mike, so you can get it. And then his second book was Pre-Persuasion. And he was a teacher at ASU. And, you know, everybody that I know that's a master at influence, because really as you take a look at what is selling, you know, and again, I look at myself as a sales pro. People used to tell me I could sell ice to Eskimo. Now I've never tried, but I believe I probably could.
Yeah, I used to get the ice to Eskimos and the sand to Arabs.
Exactly. But, you know, again, the key in life, no matter what it is that we do, is how we influence people. You know, the better you can be at influencing people. And as you talk about the people that are all this gun-ho, you know, I think that's a specific niche and even a geographic, more the New York, New Jersey kind of mentality. I live in California where people are much more laid back. But again, if we've got something of value, which you do, I do, it's how do we influence them in a way that they're going to want, because really what we're selling is ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, that's the key thing of what we're selling.
Yeah.
And
our knowledge and experience and expertise, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, because I got 30 years, 31, coming up to 32 years sales and entrepreneurship experience, and I'm only 43. I'm 43 in September. I started at 11.
Yep. I started probably about the same age, as delivering papers and shoveling snow in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I've got a few years, of course, I'm older than you, but I've got a few years more. But, people ask me, well, when am I going to retire? I'm never going to retire because I love what I'm doing. It's helping people, making a positive difference in people. To me, that's how you live a legacy life. That's how you live a life of meaning.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I never ever, think I'll ever contemplate retirement. Running my corporation from a boat somewhere and just having to manage the manager. That's what I see as retirement. But that would still be being an entrepreneur and running a business. But it's just what people want out of life. That's what I would envisage to do. But to me, it's always been about not making money, but about leaving a legacy. Actually, how can you make a difference on the planet and to the people of the planet? How can you, make an impact somehow? And to me, that's what it's always been about. So, I've been trying to become a global speaker so that I can make the money that I need to make to invest in growing and bringing up entrepreneurs from a young age who need help in life. That's my mission. I want to become an angel investor, but not like the angel investors who are really devils with angels' wings trying to capitalize on other people's businesses. I want to be an angel investor where I'm like, here's the money, here's the advice and the information, go off and do it. And if you can afford to pay me back in the future, then great. And if not, enjoy the start that I gave you, and the help, because I think there's so many businesses struggle to get off the ground just because they got the right idea and the right energy, but they haven't got any sort of, it takes money to make money sometimes. And sometimes they just need a little start in life,
Yeah. It takes money to make money, or it takes an idea.
Yes,
the right idea with the right network, with the right collaboration.
Yeah.
It's great to have a vision. I love your vision. I love who you are, as I like who I am, because we've got that servant heart. We've got that servant leadership.
Yeah.
And, we're all focused on what we can do to make a positive difference in the world. I can help you get on different global stages. I'll send you more things. And again, to me, my secret sauce, I'll give it to you in a nutshell. Give the best you got all the time. Open the right doors for other people. If you do that, the law of reciprocity, I don't know where it's going to come back.
No,
I just know it will come back.
It will
come back.
Yeah. Have you heard of Bob Berg?
Sure. Just so happens the guy that wrote my book was the same ghostwriter that's written his books.
Okay, yeah. Well, Bob's been on my show as well, and I love his. I've listened to his audio book, The Go Giver, and he's got one which is the referrals as well, isn't it? Endless referrals.
Yep.
That's what you reminded me of that when you said about this Monday event with
Tom Day. Yeah, he had a whole company that was sold. Yeah. He had a whole company that was sold. In fact, his referral program, which it's, I think, to get in the funnel, he pays 50%. But you need to show up on the Monday meeting. I'll send you the link. He's done it. He's actually older than me, and he still loves what he's doing, which is helping and teaching people. And his technology of things that he knows, all the different widgets out there, you will really like it. I'll send you that information.
Oh, yeah, I love technology. But I tell you what, so I've actually started labeling myself as a philanthropic entrepreneur, and I haven't got the billions to give away like all the billionaires have, like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and all of that. But what I'm giving away to people is knowledge, and knowledge is a bit like that story. You can give someone a fish and they'll eat for a day, but if you teach them how to fish, they'll be able to eat for a lifetime. And what I'm doing, that's the same with money sometimes. Sometimes you give people money, and they just lose it because they don't know how to spend it or invest it or keep it, whereas if you give them the knowledge and experience to be able to keep making money and to keep growing, then, that's better. So that's why at the moment I'm giving the knowledge and the information and advice and just helping people. But when I give them a little bit of a head start, then I give them a bit of a head start as well with a bit of cash. But, that's not the be all and end all either.
Okay. First of all, let me give you some insight and wisdom that I've gained from a lot of experience. First of all, I love the definition of experience. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. That's an experience. But now either experiences are going to stop you from getting what you want, or you're going to use them as a stepping stone. One of the guys that I listened to early on was Dr. Robert Anthony. And what he told me, and this is all going to come back to what you just said, he said, there are certain lessons we're supposed to learn in life. And until we learn the lesson, life will continually trip you up in that lesson. What you're giving people is more valuable than money. One of the things I've learned, it's like, I could give you a laundry list of people I've given loan money to that were going to pay me back, The only one that I had that has ever paid me back in full is somebody that I took some collateral from, which was a very expensive diamond. Most people, if you give money, it becomes, it takes away from the relationship. Giving wisdom, giving a referral of somebody that they can do business with, I find to be more valuable than money. You're giving you're matching two quality contacts up that can help that person. See, one person can change a person's life. One insight that you give somebody can help accelerate the success that person is looking for. And if they're looking for money, they're going to be looking for money a year from today or in the future. That's what banks are for. That's what loaning institutions are for. I would rather give them something that's more precious than money.
Yeah, I've already done that. A mate of mine, I met networking. I actually was employed in a sister company of his a long time ago. And I was at a networking event in Swansea, which is an hour away from Cardiff, which is where I normally network. And we were at a networking event, and I was talking about, loving self-employment and being my own boss and in charge of my own destiny and all of that. And I met him a couple of years later. He was doing the videography and stuff like that. And he said, I met you a couple of years ago at a Swansea event. And from what you said, it inspired me to go self-employed. And I was like, it was just a conversation. I wasn't trying to impact anyone. I was just showing enthusiasm for, I suppose, the path that I had chosen. And he was employed in the same sort of job, similar sort of business and stuff. And I used to be looked up to in that company, in that group of companies. I was in the sister company, but because I was one of the top sellers for 10 years. I was one of the two top sellers out of 250. So people used to, know me, and I wouldn't necessarily know them because it was a big call center full of lots of people. But yes, I just, in a flippant remark, and then a couple of years later, he's telling me because of something you said in an event, he changed his life and went for it,
Yep, exactly. Most people don't really realize that they've got the power in their hands. That reminds me of a story that I heard on one of the tapes. I can't remember where I heard it, or but there's a very powerful message, and it's this young boy that wants to fool this wise man. And so he comes to the wise man with a bird in his hand, and he says, wise man, I hear you're one of the wisest people out there. I've got a bird in my hand. I would like to know if it's alive or dead. And so the wise man responded. He said, the fate of that bird is in your hand, knowing that if he said it was dead, that the boy would open his hand and let it fly away. If he said it was alive, before he opened his hand, he would put his hands together and open it and show it was dead. We've got the power in our being to change people's lives. We talked about the fact that, that it's a level playing field. We met on a networking, a Zoom event. Look how many more people are in Zoom events. Look at how we're able to plug into information. We can guide people to information. Look at it just in our short time together, how I've guided you to some information that I know will change your life. And you have to me. That's what life is about, how we can make a positive impact in others. You take a look at the word me, and you shake that word up and turn the M upside down, and what do you have now?
We.
What is exactly? Synergy is a word that I learned early on. That's where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2; it equals 4, 5, 6. The power of people working together.
The compound effect, I call that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. But I love synergy as well. Yeah, anything, I worked in a business that grew rapidly because we kept developing and diversifying into synergistic businesses, and that's what, when you're a power networker, you see somebody that has synergy with somebody else, and you're like, you two need to collaborate or do some business together or partner together, etc. Because there's so much synergies because you can identify in them their mission, their vision, their values, their approach to life, whatever it is, and the complementary product or services that they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we're just, just a small change in how most people operate. And that's the key, where people with the wisdom that you've got, the wisdom that I've got because of our life experiences, we can help that person make that small change, so they see things and so they'll act differently, so they'll accelerate their success, so they'll create the success they're looking for. And that's, the wisdom that we bring to the equation.
Yeah, and I think what happens is, I think beforehand, entrepreneurship, you needed a big set of balls, to actually go into entrepreneurship because it was tough and it was difficult, yeah, and you had to be brave. And I think not many people are brave, and that's why they stay in their comfort zone. But I think the globalization and the technology, instead of there being 10% of the population making money and doing well, and the 90% not, when really actually it's probably that 10% of that 10%, so 1% who's really making the money. But I think technology and innovation and creativity and the personal development wave, and the fact that you can still learn off Jim Rohn on YouTube, and all these people, great masters and stuff. I'm an eternal optimist, and I have faith in human beings becoming better versions of themselves. And I have faith that that 10% or the 1% could grow to 5, and the 10% could grow to 20 or 25 because of globalization, technology, podcasting and YouTubing, and all of these things. So that's what I'm hoping for, is that, it's not just 10% or 1% of the population that get to enjoy a fulfilled life and an empowered life, but actually people like us and the next generations along, and technology can make that, more accessible to more people.
Well, it definitely will. And I'm sure you've heard the thing about the 100th monkey, Ken Keyes.
I haven't heard that one, no.
Oh, it's the 100th monkey. Again, you can Google that, but basically it was how one monkey was washing whatever, a pearl or whatever in some island. And, before you knew it, and it was an isolated thing, all the other monkeys on the island, and then there was an island across, but it's called the 100th monkey. And so what you're saying is really accurate, but the problem quite often, because what Zig Ziglar would talk about, stinking thinking, meaning the fact that, people they've got this limited thinking. They want to stay in a job because of benefits. They want the benefits rather than think about how can I create a plan B, make more money than I'm making on my job and pay for my own benefits.
Yeah.
But people want to have that security. And once they realize that, the real security is who you are and what you do, not by depending upon somebody else. Think about with this pandemic, one of the things that the pandemic has taught people is why they need to have more than one stream of income, because look at how it's impacted. But most people don't think about it. What happens if somebody comes and buys the business I'm working at? You need to have more than one stream of income today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so many people are switching on to that because of, obviously before the pandemic, and the world changing, like it's never changed before. People would never have believed that that was possible. But in life, everything's possible. So therefore, you can't just assume like that things are just going to stay a status quo forever. And this has been a big turning point and a big turning curve in people's mindsets, and they've now realised that maybe what they considered to be safe and risky was an illusion.
Yep. Here's what I think we should end up everything with. Think about it this: if Mike can create the success that he has, if I can create the success that I have, anybody that's listening to this message, can far surpass the success that either of us have had to this point.
Yeah, Well, yeah, that's profound, and it's a great point to leave on. So, other than just, what's the best way that people can reach out to you, Robert?
They can email me, Butwin, BUTWIN, @gmail.com. Just remember, with Robert, you do nothing but win.
Brilliant, brilliant. All right, then we'll leave it there. Thanks a lot, Robert, for coming on the podcast. I'm sure we're going to have a number of regular chats going forward. I can just see them and hear them already in the back of my head. So look forward to them. And I'll send you the links to the podcast and the YouTube when they get done. And other than that, I'd just like to say thanks for coming on the podcast and sharing some wisdom and some experience and just a bit about you for my audience to hopefully now reach out and connect with you.
Well, what I'll also do is I will send this podcast out to all the people that follow me so that more people can become acquainted with you.
Brilliant, brilliant. All right, then. Thanks a lot and have a great day. I know I will.
Same to you. It was always a
Yes.
pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.